What's up, Plus Ultra fam? It's me, Plus Ultraman, and today we're here to finally do our first What If on the channel. I'm very excited, so let's get to it. At this point, we shall be very familiar with the start of Dragon Ball Z. The original manga chapter, Raditz had his debut, came out in 1988, and he appeared in the anime only a year after that. Not to mention, there are a ton of Dragon Ball Z games that'll follow his storyline and show the player how it all went down. Personally, Raditz is one of my favorite characters in the series, mostly because he had so much potential, yet none of it was really tapped into. Thankfully though, a lot of people have taken notice of this. Moscow did his amazing What If Raditz Turned Good series, one of my favorite Dragon Ball Z games of all time. Budokai Tenkaichi 2 had a What If saga in it that had Raditz Turned Good called Faithful Brothers. Toyotaro wrote his amazing Dragon Ball Zero manga, which was an origin story for Raditz. And there are countless other fanfics and other fan creations that will give Raditz a bigger part of the storyline. So that being said, I think it's high time that I gave my interpretation. But for that, I don't want to make Raditz turn good, at least not instantly. I want to leave him as the same ruthless and cruel Saiyan warrior he was at the beginning of the series for at least a very good amount of time. He will change at some point, but for now, he'll stay who he is. But you heard the thumbnail. So how am I going to get Raditz to remain who he is, and yet get Goku to join me? Raditz at this point in time was the pinnacle of evil to Goku, hence why he and Piccolo teamed up to beat him. But at the same time, Raditz was also the pinnacle of strength to Goku, hence why he and Piccolo teamed up to beat him. Strength, as we all know, is the best way to get through to Goku. So, in this timeline, we're going to make two very small changes. Number one, we're going to give Raditz a very small Zenkai boost before he even meets Goku. And number two, we're going to give him a companion. In the Dragon Ball Zero manga I mentioned earlier, there's a small tournament held to determine which of the Saiyans will be allowed to go out and conquer planets. Raditz and his team were actually too weak to win this tournament, but because of some good teamwork and clever cheating, they came out on top. But in this timeline, Raditz would actually take a more severe beating than he did in the original story. This would warrant at least a 2-day trip to the healing tanks, which actually works out because the planet was going to destroy it 3 days after that tournament. After Raditz is all healed up, he and his team, which was made up of him, a young Turles, and an unnamed Saiyan that we had never met before named Ricello, would embark to a planet called Descent, where they would face monsters that were much too strong for them to beat. Again, they've cheated because they're not strong enough to finish this. Unfortunately, as in the original timeline, Ricello would die, but Raditz's power boost would gain him enough power to save he and Turles. In the original story, he's listed at a power level of 517. So let's take him from that 517 to about a 580 or maybe a 590. He's nowhere near strong enough to take down these monsters, but he is strong enough to carry he and Turles away for a long enough period of time to rest. The two young Saiyans would be saved by Vegeta and Nappa, and this would be how Vegeta's team was formed. This would also bring the total number of Saiyans who were under Vegeta's rule to 3. And with those two small changes out of the way, we can now fast forward to age 761. The original Dragon Ball timeline would not have changed other than the two changes I've just made. Goku has defeated Piccolo Jr., married Chi-Chi, and had his son Gohan. His power level is also at the same because again, no changes have been made. He is now sitting at 416 in power level. Raditz and Turles would land on planet Earth and emerge from their pods, using their scouters to scan the nearest life form. Sadly, this would be the form with a shotgun, who, needless to say, would have a much worse day because he'd have 2 unruly Saiyans to deal with instead of just 1. After this, the 2 Saiyans would locate the nearest strongest power level, which would be 1 of 322 coming from Piccolo, who was training nearby in the mountains with his weighted training gear on. Remember, at this point in time, nobody in the Frieza Force could sense or hide their own ki, so Piccolo would have sensed the 2 invaders way before they had gotten to him. Now, if we're adapting Toyotaro's Dragon Ball Zero, that would mean that in the original storyline, Raditz would have went from a power level of 517 to a power level of 1500. But in this storyline, we'll say he's gone from a power level of 580 to a power level of 2000. Why am I making such a big jump? Well, in the story, Raditz is shown to have a lot of admiration for Bardock. I think that admiration would give him a lot more pride in this storyline. Not only that, having Turles beside him, so he would not be the weakest in the group, but also give him more pride. He'd feel a lot more ambitious to go out and conquer stronger planets. He'd probably have harder battles that would result in more Zenkai boosts for him. But again, this is still Raditz, so he would get no respect from Vegeta and Nappa. But he is also able to be the side man of this storyline. Turles would be very close behind Raditz. I think he'd be at Raditz's original power level. The 2 Saiyans would then fly to Piccolo's location. Landing there and finding a Namekian was very perplexing to the 2 Saiyans. They would laugh it off and determine that he was of no threat to them and leave. Piccolo, on the other hand, was shocked. A new warrior had appeared, stronger than any he had ever met before. But because of Turles' resemblance to Goku, he would assume that this was Goku, and that Goku had gotten way stronger. As always, Piccolo would need time to stop and process all this information, yet he was infuriated. The two Saiyans would then start flying to the direction of Kame House, sensing a cluster of power levels that were bigger than normal in that area. Again, they are easily sensed, so Goku would already be out on the beach at Kame House, waiting for them. Once seeing the other Saiyan, the two Saiyans would stop, laugh, and land. Raditz would comment on how Goku looked just like Bardock in his younger days, yet he was nowhere near the power level he needed to be. Turles would cut in as he always did, making jokes at Kakarot's weakness. The two Saiyans would then begin berating the younger one because the planet was still full of life, asking if the Green Namekian had defeated him. Goku, being extremely confused, to try and stop them and get them to explain themselves. Raditz would begin questioning if he had brain damage, and once Goku had confirmed that yes, he had taken a blow to the head as a baby, Raditz began to inform him on everything that was meant to be told by the Saiyan race. Needless to say, these were complete bombshells to Goku. He was not of Earth, and he was actually sent here to destroy the Earth. He would not be in a very talkative mood at the moment. Not to mention, Krillin is very aware of how strong Raditz and Turles are. He would not approach them, and so this confrontation would not become violent. There would be no ill will actually portrayed to the humans. The two Saiyans are too focused on their younger counterpart. Since he's not talking, Raditz has time to look around, and he notices that Goku does not have a tail. Again, the two older Saiyans begin teasing him on his lack of power, especially at the fact that he cannot unlock his true power through the Ozaru form. Hearing the idea of more power being unlocked, Goku would question them what this Ozaru form was, and the two Saiyans would elaborate on what the Great Ape transformation was. This would allow Goku to put two and two together, and he would realize that he was the one that had crushed Grandpa Gohan. Again, this gives Goku pause, and he has to stop and process this information. And again, Raditz allows him this time. He would then look around once again and notice the small Saiyan boy. His brother had had a kid, and also that the Earthlings were able to reproduce with the Saiyan. This information would actually prove to be the salvation of Earth in the long run. As he always did, Turles would cut in and begin teasing and taunting his best friend Turles. In the story, they're shown to be very good friends. As I said, their teamwork is amazing, and I imagine it would be a similar relationship to Tori and Bardock, always teasing and taunting each other as they were close friends, if you take it. Turles would cut in saying, well, Raditz, even though you're stronger, your brother has a kid. You can't say that. The two would then begin to bicker back and forth and maybe even wrestle a bit. Now this would actually help their situation. Goku, seeing that they had more emotions than just their usual bravado, would see that these guys might not be all that bad. Not to mention, they've only spoken about doing bad things. He hasn't actually seen them attack anybody. So, as blunt as he always would, Goku would cut into the conversation, asking if his brother could actually make him as strong as he was. And here, Raditz would have his end to start manipulating his brother. See, in this timeline, there would actually be no real need to go and get Kakarot. The planet the Saiyans had originally been decided to go conquer and sell, but it had been easy work having Turles there, who at this point was much stronger than Goku. But in this timeline, the entire band of Saiyan was not going to just conquer this planet. It was actually just going to be Raditz and Turles. And they had decided that they needed help, and therefore were going to recruit Raditz's younger brother. Or at least, this was the story that they had told Vegeta and Nappa. As I've said, Raditz in this storyline has a lot more pride and ambition, and would resent being under the two Saiyans' heel, and not want to be the weakest in the group anymore. I'd imagine it'd be a very similar situation to Vegeta and Frieza. Vegeta had always wanted to revolt against Frieza, yet even though, at the beginning of the series, he was nowhere near the power level he needed to be, he still had ambitions to the entire time. But Raditz is also a very cautious and intelligent fighter. He would know that he would need more than just he and Turles to take down the two Saiyan leads. Therefore, he would need his brother's help. Even if his brother would only be fodder in the end, it would still be useful to have him with him. Not to mention the added knowledge that Kakarot had a son, and therefore they would bolster his forces, and the Earthlings could help him make even more Saiyans. So, Raditz would begin telling his brother, yes, he can make him stronger, but he'll never be as strong as he was. Kakarot will always be scum to him. Goku would probably ignore the most part of that insult. He'd be too excited at the prospect of getting stronger. But the idea of killing innocent people was still not appealing to the Saiyan, and therefore the two Saiyan brothers would begin negotiations. Goku would determine that number 1, the Earth cannot be destroyed, and no humans can be harmed. Number 2, he cannot kill any innocent people. And number 3, he cannot be gone too long. 2 years at the most. Raditz would pause and think about these demands. Number 1, the Earth not being destroyed was actually a benefit to him. He would need the humans to start repopulating the Saiyan race at some point. Number 2 wasn't a very big problem because he believed at some point he'd be able to toughen Kakarot up. Number 3 was the only problem to him. He would simply decide to lie and tell Kakarot that he would be back within 2 years. But, in return, Gohan would actually have to accompany the Saiyans into space. Again, Goku would have to stop and process information. Now, the idea of training with his son was by no means unappealing, but the idea of training with his sons in space with evil monkey warriors was not that appealing. He would decide that if Gohan was to come, he would have to stay by his side at all times, and he also would not kill anybody innocent. Raditz would reluctantly agree to all this, and the two Saiyans would come to an agreement. But this is a Dragon Ball Z what if. Therefore, we cannot have no action happen whatsoever. And with that, all the heads at the beach would snap over to the sea. The Saiyans being alerted by their scouters, and the Z fighters alerted by their key sense. There, hovering over the water, maybe a few hundred yards out, would be Piccolo. He's been charging up his special beam cannon for a good amount of time. Now, in the original, Piccolo actually fired off two special beam cannons, the second of which was clocked in at a power level of 1330. This was after fighting Raditz and being winded. So in this scenario, he's had more time to do it. He's also had more energy to put into it. So let's say it's going from a 1330 to about an 1880. With the way the special beam cannon works, it is definitely enough to kill anybody on the beach. As he fired it, Raditz would calmly lift up one hand and fire a single Sunday, which would impact Piccolo's special beam cannon and mostly eat it. The attack would then hit Piccolo dead off in the chest and blow him off into the water. But don't worry, Piccolo is by no means out of the story. In fact, he has a very big part to play later. Though all the inhabitants on the beach would assume him dead, and therefore Kami with them. Before Goku could begin protesting and rethinking his offer, the two Saiyans would lift off into the air and tell Kakarot to meet them back here tomorrow. They would then fly off back towards the area where their pods had landed in to order Kakarot one. With the Saiyans finally gone, all the humans and the one lone Saiyan and half Saiyan could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Goku would have very quick conversation with the other people on the beach. They'd try and talk him out of going, but I think Goku would tell Krillin to make sure he starts training harder and that he'd have to go and do this. Either way, the Earth would be safe if he went. Though internally, I don't think Goku would be as sure as he was trying to make himself. With that, Goku and Gohan would then fly on the Nimbus Cloud to Korin's tower. Goku would plead with Korin to give him any and all senzu beans he had. Korin would reluctantly comply and give him at least 6, which Goku would hide and keep from his brother. He was not fully trusting of his brother, and he might need an extra boost of energy to get he and Gohan out of this dangerous situation. He would then fly up to Kami's lookout to check and see if Kami really had died with Piccolo. Thankfully, the older Namekian was still there. Kami, being fully aware of the situation, would begin trying to counsel Goku, asking him if he would please step into the hyperbolic time chamber and train so he would not have to leave the planet. I think Goku would flat out refuse this offer. Number one, his first experience with the hyperbolic time chamber was a very negative one. And number two, he's seen a power that did not require the hyperbolic time chamber to require. So I think he would be set on going with his brother at this point. Goku and Gohan would then fly back to his house to rest for the night. In the morning, Goku would have to sneak he and Gohan out of the house before Chi-Chi could even find them, because there was no way she was going to let Gohan go into space. The two would then arrive back to Kami's house where the other two Saiyans were waiting for them. Gohan was still asleep in Goku's arm. With that, the older two Saiyans then called down their pods, as well as a brand new one for Goku and Gohan. Before climbing into their own, Goku would be told to put on his new Saiyan armor instead of those raggedy earthling garments he wore so much. Goku would opt to only put on the Saiyan top and to leave the other pieces behind, stating he did not want to wear underwear when he fought. Raditz would then yell at him to get in his pod so they could go. Once lifted off and into space, they began the 3-week journey to Planet Frieza number 79. Hearing a conversation between Raditz and Turles through the scouters, Goku would pick his up, questioning what this was. Raditz and Turles would then berate him on his idiocy, asking how else would they be able to sense ki. And with this, a very beneficial information exchange would begin between the three Saiyans. Goku would begin trying to teach them how to sense the ki themselves. The two Saiyans wouldn't believe him exactly, but they would at least try it. The Saiyans would then begin telling Goku more about the Saiyan heritage and the inner workings of the Frieza Force. After their teaching moment was done, the two Saiyans decided to go to sleep for the long trip, Goku deciding to follow right after them. We then fast forward to all three Saiyan pods, landing on Planet Frieza number 79. Now here, we're going to make another very small change. The gravity on Planet Frieza number 79 would actually be 10 times that of Earth's gravity. I'm not sure that there are any official statements on the gravity level on this planet, therefore we can change it anything we really want to. Goku and Gohan will struggle to get out of their pods while Raditz and Turles simply stroll out of theirs. All four Saiyans would then enter the facility, where Goku and Gohan be given a very quick tour and told to get ready because they're about to begin training for 1 year. And I think that's where we're going to leave this one for now, people. So, a quick recap. We have a stronger, more laid-back, yet prideful Raditz and Turles. Goku and Gohan are headed into space. Piccolo has been booted from the story for a while, and Earth is left with only its human Z fighters to defend it. So what kind of training would the low-class Saiyans undergo? Would the Earth be safe with only the human Z fighters? Will Raditz toughen Goku? Or will Gohan and Goku soften Raditz up? What will become of Piccolo? And will Chi-Chi kill Goku if he gets back? Find out all this and more next time. And remember, always go beyond plus ultra. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more. And thanks for watching.